Well, greetings to the students, teachers, and parents at Edens Hills Primary School in Queensland. My name is Greg Ladner, and I am a co-director of We Care Cambodia, essentially a charity that is trying to do its best to make a difference in the lives of Cambodians. And so my purpose is to just share with you a little bit about our work in the village of Thmey and surrounding villages, and also how that extends to opportunities, particularly in the local schools. Of course, Cambodia is a country in Southeast Asia, located between Thailand and Vietnam, for those of you who have not travelled there. And it's a country that suffered terribly during the war in Vietnam in the 1960s, but particularly in the 1970s when the US started to bomb the Ho Chi Minh Trail inside the Cambodian border. Cambodia was heavily bombed by the US, and one thing led to another. With the US pulling out of the war in Vietnam, it then made way for this group called the Khmer Rouge, made up of Cambodians and led by Pol Pot, who had this ideology about rejecting the values of the West and wanting to start year zero, and burnt all the money in the bank and essentially rejected anyone who was educated with Western ways, and those people ended up being eliminated. Millions of people died, and the country was really reduced to a society, agrarian society, growing rice, selling it to China, and leaving very little for its own people. And so that took the country back many, many years, and it's been recovering since the 1990s, and opened up to tourism essentially after the year 2000. So it's a fairly recent history, and so as an Australian, I felt very moved about wanting to make a difference in Cambodia in my first, essentially after my first travels there. And so I've been involved in a project located at Thmey village, 55 kilometres from Siem Reap, and essentially it began as a partnership involving students from my school in Hong Kong who were interested in a needs assessment of Cambodians who were trying to pick up their lives again, living in rural Cambodia. And so it's been a journey since then, which ultimately has led to the building of a community centre involving a small school building, really essentially for teaching English after the students are at their local school. And with the partnership with the village chief to acquire the land, and with donations, from friends and out of my own contribution, we've been able to put up this this school building and extend it to also allow for visiting students and visitors to come and experience rural life in Cambodia and actually stay in the village. And you can see here a photo of students from Hong Kong interacting with the local children from Thmey. We employ teachers to teach English classes on a daily basis after the students have been at the local school, with the hope that it provides a leg up to offering those students employment later on in various fields. Obviously tourism is the big one, and English is the language of tourism. And so the classes happen daily, and we have a large number of students taught in a very didactic way, and part of our challenge, of course, is to train the teachers to use different strategies, and that is one of our goals, to improve the quality of the teaching, which will have an impact at the local school at Thmey and surrounding. We've also put in solar power in the centre, which is running fans and lights, and has provided people in a village which didn't have power until recently the chance to use that electricity, use that power to charge up their phones. People have phones, and also, of course, to have some light as well. Here's a shot of again students from Hong Kong mixing with the local villagers, and in the background you can see the other addition, the building of a longhouse, a big empty room which has accommodation in mosquito nets for our students, and it's quite an experience to be able to immerse themselves in local Cambodian life, and the whole village benefits from this. We are involved in an ongoing process of donating water filters. You can see those plastic buckets there, and they essentially are a ceramic pot where the water is poured into and it droops through into the container, and it provides safe, clean, bacterial-free water for the villagers, and it has made a difference. And here is one of our local villages with the water filter that was donated, and it's an ongoing project. Again, I mentioned the solar power. We've donated individual solar lights, and you can see here where they've got the solar panel charging up a light inside. We're also involved heavily in the quest. We aspire to sponsor students, and we want to do more of this, but here's an example of Hian, who has been sponsored by us. We've met him in the village 4 or 5 years ago. He was very keen to go and study in Siem Reap. We've helped make that happen, covering his costs, and now he has a job in a local bank in Siem Reap, and his family are very proud of him. And again, he comes back to the village, and he actually helps us with our work in Thmey. And of course, we put up Western toilets with showers for our visitors, but also the students use those when they're at the school. And again, just a snapshot of village life around Thmey. And down the road, of course, we've got the school of Thmey Primary School, grades 1 to 5. It has, as I say, 5 classes, approximately 200 odd students, and coming from the village. And the building itself was sponsored by a Japanese NGO, but of course there's ongoing challenges to provide the best education. A lot of that centres around teacher training, but also the facilities at the school. Large classes. Here is the grade 5-6 class with teacher Somhut, who's also the head teacher. Again, almost 45 students in that class. They do have a small library. Students love reading. Some donations of books. We'd like to expand the collection of books at the school. The students are very warm and welcoming, and I know that the students at Eaton's Hills will benefit greatly from learning about the Cambodian culture, and of course these students are going to also love learning a little bit about Australia and benefit from the help that you might be able to give these students, who many of are from very, very poor families, and in some cases the students are quite undernourished and certainly look very young compared to their actual age. But they're very happy. They love playing sport. This is the soccer field, and here is the kitchen where they get served free breakfast, essentially rice provided by World Vision, and very basic facilities there. And here's a shot of the students enjoying their breakfast before school starts, quite early in the morning. But again, they only go to school for half a day. Here's the water supply for a local student who opens the door and gets the water. It's not filtered. It's clean enough, but we'd like to put in some water filters at the school. So there are some needs. I know that we're excited about the partnership with Eaton's Hills and look forward to the opportunities to, again, make a real difference to the life of children and their families at Thmey in Cambodia.